if you could describe hell on earth, like depression would be it. That's why it's so devastating. Because like in that moment, like I begged with God, I said, please, like give me any form of physical pain in exchange for this emotional pain. Hi, my name is Kevin. I run a social enterprise dedicated to resilience and mental health, and I'm here to share my story. During my A's, I had anxiety because like typical lah, you need to do well, no future. So I had anxiety, and that eventually led to me handing up blank papers for my math. So when I came into my A-levels, right, I sat down. I think there was a light coming in. Oh no, it wasn't a light, sorry. It was aircon blowing at me. So I was very sensitive to cold. So like aircon blowing at me, I took my chair. I said I need to shift. So while everyone was writing already, I was literally like this joker shifting my table to the other end, a corner of the hall. So I was literally in the corner of the hall, like doing my stuff. Then I saw this light coming in, I think from the outside. Usual occasions it wouldn't bother me, but that day it really bothered me and I couldn't finish my paper. So like it wasn't just the act of not finishing the paper, like I knew that after that, like what's gonna happen? I still have like 20 more papers. How in the world am I gonna do that in this state? So that was what scared me the most. If you could describe hell on earth, like depression would be it. That's why it's so devastating. Because like in that moment, like I begged with God, I said, please, like give me any form of physical pain in exchange for this emotional pain. Imagine you work so hard, 14 hours a day for 2 months, just for this exam, like, and you are thinking after this exam, I can pursue my dreams, I can be free. And then now this happened, right? You're wondering like what in the world are you gonna do? Like, are you gonna retake your A's? Are you gonna suffer again? So like that was really devastating. I wanted to kind of give up my A's already, but my mom said, you know what, just go through it. Took some medication, went through my A-levels. But the moment I kind of finished all my papers, okay, my mind just shut down. Yeah, that's the best way I can describe it. It shut down and I lost control of my thoughts. The first time a suicidal thought came to my mind was one day after A-levels. So I woke up in cold sweat and all of a sudden just thought entered my mind, it's better to take my life. Like I had no idea how it came. It just entered my mind. Immediately I woke my mom up. I woke her up and I told her that okay, I thought of taking my life. She shivered, like I could feel her body shivering. She gave me a hug. She said, Kevin, don't say something like that. I was scared for 2 reasons, okay? Number one is that I had a thought like this. And number two, I can't control it. And the second thing actually scared me more. For the first time in my life, I couldn't control my thoughts. And that is one characteristic of depression. I took small steps. Okay, for anyone that's facing a similar challenge, right, you must not give up hope. Hope is the last thing that you cling on to, especially when it's very difficult. And I can say this from my heart because I know in those moments, right, I really felt that I have no life already, like I have no future. I'll just be a shell of a person I used to be. All my dreams are crushed. But I just clung on to the hope. Where did that hope come from? One was from my parents. I was very fortunate to have parents that did not understand fully, but they empathized. And I believe that medication also helped a bit. I did see a counselor also during that time. My mom also told me to go and volunteer. I would attribute my recovery to that also. I went to dog shelters. I went to volunteer with Cerebral Palsy Center. When I was there in a moment, I realized that they did not care. Right? They did not give a shit about whether I was tall, short, fat, ugly, a thin, triangle. I don't care. The only thing they cared about was that like I was there, present, like serving them, loving them. That's the only thing they cared about. And it was so therapeutic because they made me feel valued. And when I realized that, right, like my identity started to shift. My identity started to shift from someone that I thought that, okay, my value is just based on my grades, towards, oh, my value is based on my love that I give to people. I'm still valuable regardless of what happened to me. So mania is like, some people say it's a mirror image of depression. It's a simplified way of describing it. But basically you get into a state of extreme high, okay? Like, think of, right now you can think of the most high person you know, okay? You multiply that by 10, like that's mania. Because like you get into a state where everything you're right. You get this inflated sense of self-esteem. You have these ideas just keep flowing into you. I couldn't sleep for 4 days because I had these ideas flooding to my mind, right, that there'll be a YouTuber. So I was watching a YouTube video and all of a sudden like, oh, I'm going to spread awareness through my voice, through my YouTube channel. And then this thought just anchored in my mind, and my whole body just became fueled with emotion and obsession. And the ideas just kept coming. Yeah, to the point where I had to make a follow-up video. During the video as well, what I did was I burned my A-level cert. Okay, like I basically took my A-level cert, I started a fire in my room, and I burned it because I just wanted to let people know that you're not defined by your grades. And it's insane. Like, of course I took it down already, but looking back at me, I can't even recognize myself for 30 seconds. It was me, but at the same time it wasn't me. It was a state where I was in a manic state. I mean, they provided everything for me. Like, even in my depression, they couldn't understand. It was very painful. I mean, imagine your son going through this, right? Like, and I changed to a completely different person, but they just supported me. Like, they just loved me. I knew that my parents were trying to convince me out of it, but they couldn't at that point in time because I was in mania. It took me a while before I got back into balance. My mania lasted like another couple of months. So during those months, right, and this is the same advice for people who are supporting someone with a mental health challenge, I know it's incredibly difficult. You just have to be patient, and you also have to seek support from different areas. You cannot take on the burden by yourself completely because it's very tough to bear. Okay, so my parents didn't take it on. I mean, they had their own support, and yeah, they just went with me. They loved me until I saw it for myself. Yeah, I think this is a misconception that people have. Like, if you have a privileged background means you are not susceptible to depression. I would say that your stresses you face are different, right? Versus a family background that maybe has no money or broken family. Yes, they are also likely potentially to face issues with their mental health, but it's a different stressor. Okay, the main thing is that we cannot compare the stressor. To them, that's their reality. You know, and if I can share a quote, right, I think by Viktor Frankl. He was a psychiatrist in the Holocaust. Okay, so he observed people in concentration camps, and this is what he said. He said that suffering is like a homogeneous gas. Okay, you pump it into a chamber, it will fill it up completely and evenly, regardless of the size of the chamber. Suffering is the same way. It doesn't matter who you are, what you are. If you face suffering, that is your suffering, and it's scary for you. It fills you up completely. And to say that, oh, just because it's this situation, is not a fair statement. I think in the past, success to me was, even though I didn't want to admit it directly, it was very much based on external variables. Okay, like milestones, achievements, prestigious professions. And I think right now, after all that I've been through, I think facing death in some ways strips everything away. And then you realize that those things don't always matter in the long run. However, I must admit that so many years out of depression, I do slip back into that sometimes. We're in Singapore, I mean, can't be helped, right? Everywhere around you is comparison. But I can say that me now versus 7 years ago, success is not just what I attained, but also who I become and what I give. Yeah, so Rebound and Resilience is an extension of me. It really is. Like, it's just a company that focuses on resilience and mental health. We also run a podcast as well. Yeah, so you can check it out, Rebound and Resilience podcast on Spotify. So I conduct level programs. I also do assembly talks, focused on resilience and mental health. Focus also on kindness and empathy. You want to help people realize that for you to win, someone else doesn't have to lose. It's not always a bell curve and a dog-eat-dog kind of culture. That's what we're trying to change our mindset about. Mental health is not just reserved as a condition. When people think mental health, they think depression and anxiety. It's not just that. I think mental health, at least for me, means everything. Everyone has a mind, and therefore everyone should be concerned about mental health. There is a need for mental health awareness and progress in Singapore. If anything, it just drove my passion deeper. Because when I actually look at kids and I talk to them, I realize that a lot of them are suffering. Okay? And it's just very sad to see. Dear me, I want you to know that you don't need to be perfect to be loved. You are loved as you are, and everything else is a bonus. Dear me, I want you to know that even though you set high standards for yourself, remember to take time to pause, to be kinder to yourself, to forgive yourself, and to celebrate your wins as well. Dear me, I do know sometimes you're full of shit, and yeah, you make mistakes, but also know that there are times where you inspire and you impact other people, and for that you should be proud of yourself. And most of all, dear me, know that life's greatest blessing is the ability to bless, and life's greatest gift is the ability to give. And till your dying breath, just make sure you do that.